Hey everybody, it's Scott Steehn. I am the lead handicapper over at winnersandwhiners.com. Winnersandwhiners.com is the number one site in the world for predictive sports analysis on each and every game going on in America every single day. Every game, every day, always free. Winnersandwhiners.com. Make sure you stop by and check out our Super Bowl preview written by Chris Kubala. It is the most in-depth piece on the Super Bowl you will find anywhere on the internet. And again, absolutely free. It's got an index, a table of contents. This thing is hefty. So if you are one of those people that likes to get deep down and tear open the hood and look and see what's going on, I highly recommend checking out Chris's piece over at winnersandwhiners.com. And of course, I do my daily show on YouTube as well. If you haven't stopped by our YouTube channel before today, first of all, welcome. And secondly, we do the deep three picks every day, plus we do selected picks by our handicappers at both Winners and Whiners and our sister site, statsalt.com. We check in every day over there on YouTube. Highly would appreciate it if you would think about becoming a subscriber to our channel, and of course giving us the thumbs up for this video as well. And if you're interested in more of my picks, I do a premium service through Winners and Whiners, and I will put the link in the description of the video. All right, guys. Well, so much for the housekeeping. Away we go. We have one more game left. It is Super Bowl 54. It is starring the San Francisco 49ers from the NFC. They are the number 2 seed and the number 3 seed in the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs. Excuse me, number 2 seed for the Chiefs, number 1 for the Niners. I moved everybody down one. Yes, that's right. Niners were the top seed, had the home field advantage throughout. And the Chiefs gained home field advantage when they, number 1, when Miami beat New England and let the Chiefs have the 2 seed, and then Tennessee went into Baltimore and upset the Baltimore Ravens and allowed the Chiefs to have the home field for the AFC Championship game. So, quick note, by the way, courtesy of our friends over at VSiN, Mitch and Paulie, the higher playoff seed for the last 23 Super Bowls is 2-13-2 against the number. That's right. The team with the higher playoff seed has been a terrible bet for the last quarter century. So the tale of the tape for these two teams goes a little something like this. First of all, the Kansas City Chiefs are still a 1-point favorite. It briefly went up to 1.5 earlier in the week before quickly going back down. You are going to pay some juice, though. As of right now, Chiefs are mostly -1, -125 across the board. Might be able to find some 15 or 20 out there, but they are you're definitely paying the freight if you choose the Chiefs. The under the total has gone down to 54.5. A little bit of juice on that at -115. It was up at went as high as 55, and I know that some people were waiting to see if it would go higher, maybe even approach the 56 range, but it did not. Looks like a little bit of sharp money came in at 55 and has driven that number back down to 54.5. The records for these two teams, the 49ers, including postseason, are 15-3 straight up, 11-6-1 against the number, and the over is 9-8-1 in their 18 games so far this year. The Chiefs, they are 14-4 straight up, 13-5 against the spread, and the over is cashed 10 times in their 18 games. The Niners in the playoff, they've gone 2-0 against the spread, winning each game, clearing the spread rather by an average of 8.75 points per game. The over-under is 1-1, and their games have averaged 47 points total. The Chiefs in the playoff, they are also 2-0 against the spread. They have also beat the number by 8.75 points per game. The over is 2-0 in their games, and their games have averaged 70.5 points per game. A little more in-depth look here as far as the 49ers go on the offensive side of the ball. They are, they have, scoring. I had to remember what I did there. Sorry, guys. They are 5th in the NFL in scoring at 28.2 points per game. Their defense giving up 19.2 points per game, and they have an average margin of +9. On the offense, they've 13th in pass yardage at 237, 2nd in the NFL and yards per attempt at 8.4. Rushing offense is very good, second only to Baltimore, as they have rushed for 144.1 yards per game and 4.6 yards per rushing attempt. On the defensive side, very, very good as far as their pass defense numbers. They are number one in giving up yards at 169.2 yards per game. Number one in yards per attempt at just 5.9. And they have recorded 48 sacks on the season. Rushing defense, a little middle of the road. Give up 112.5 yards per game. That's 17th, 4.5 yards per attempt. That is not good. It is 22nd in the NFL. And if you like advanced stats, they rank out as the second best defense, DVOA. The Chiefs, well, they can put some points on the board as well. They are second in the NFL in scoring to only to Baltimore, putting up 29.9 points per game. Defense giving up 19.4 points per game, not too shabby at all. And that is a average winning margin of 10.5 points. They are the fifth best offensive unit as far as passing the football goes, 281.1 yards per game. And fourth best as far as yards per attempt at 8.1. Rushing offense, not great for the Chiefs. They rank 23rd at 98.1 yards per game and 20th at yards per attempt with 4.2. On the defensive side of the ball, pretty good defensive unit for the Kansas City Chiefs as well. They give up 221 yards per game passing. That's 8th, 6.7 yards per attempt. That is 6th. 45 sacks on the season, just 3 less than the Niners. The rushing defense, you've heard a lot about it these last 2 weeks. It has not been a great unit. They give up 128.2 yards per game. That is 26th in the NFL. And yards per attempt, 28th at 4.9. The Chiefs, they rank right in the middle of the pack as well as far as DVOA, as they are 14th. So, a lot of numbers right there. Thanks for getting through them. Sorry for having a brain fart about what I actually wrote down. But so according to the raw numbers, if you were just going to compare the numbers, who has the advantage? Well, the Niners have the 13 most passing yards, but they, as we talked about, they are second in the NFL in yards per attempt. Now, what does that say? Well, it says a couple things. First, it says the Niners are very good at YAC, the old yards after catch. In fact, they are sixth in the NFL. They racked up 2,207 yards after the catch has been made. Secondly, and most importantly, it tells us that there's a lot of games that the 49ers simply don't have to pass. It was true in the regular season, and it's been especially true in the playoffs, where Jimmy Garoppolo has thrown just 27 passes for 191 yards in the 2 games that the Niners have absolutely dominated their competition. Now, does that mean that Jimmy Garoppolo sucks and Shanahan doesn't trust him to throw the ball? Absolutely not. In fact, Jimmy Garoppolo, pretty darn good quarterback if you're looking for somebody to put your money on. In his 27 NFL starts, he is 22-4-1 against the number, so he's obviously getting it done. I look at it this way, if Colin McGregor gets in a bar fight, he doesn't have to pull out a gun. Why? Because he doesn't need to. He could just beat you with his fist, and that's what San Francisco does with their running attack. You want to see San Francisco throw the football? Well, you better stop the run, because they're not going to throw much until you prove that you can stop this 3-headed monster that is the San Francisco rushing attack. When the Niners throw the ball, that should be a little better matchup for the Chiefs. Like we said, the Chiefs 8th in the league in yards per game, 6th in yards per catch. They have done a nice job at putting together a defensive backfield there. They do miss Juan Thornhill at the free safety spot, but Daniel Sorensen has actually done a nice job of stepping up, especially in the pro season. And just to touch on this, like I said, the Chiefs are 8th in yards per game. A lot of times that doesn't mean anything because of the situational football that's being played, but in the Chiefs' case, it actually does mean something because many times their opponents they find themselves behind. They find themselves having to throw the ball to catch up, and so the yards per game is actually a meaningful statistic for this Kansas City Chiefs defense. But, the matchup that everybody is talking about, of course, is the San Francisco 49ers run game versus the Chiefs rush defense. They are ranked in the bottom third against the best rushing team without Lamar Jackson, and that would seem to be problematic for Kansas City. They just don't do a good job against the run. The last couple of weeks, of course, excluded. Shanahan, he has really done a great job, kind of like a good baseball manager in a bullpen. He has done a great job and keeping all three of his running backs fresh. Coleman and Breida each have 137 carries, while Mostert has just 123. Now, to contrast that, Derrick Henry for the Titans, he had 303 carries. Zeke, he had 301. In fact, the top 6 backs with the most carries all had at least twice as many as anyone in the Niners backfield. And that is important because fresh legs and health are the currency of the day in the postseason. And this San Francisco team pretty much has fat stacks of each. Mostert, he's been good all year. He had limited opportunities earlier, but he gets better the more that he's used. 9 times he's had 10 or more carries, and in 6 of those 9 games he has averaged 5.7 yards per carry or more. But you know what? Like any successful running back, you can't do it alone, and you can't do it without a good offensive line, and as often is the case, a good fullback. And the Niners have one of the best and one of the most versatile in Kyle Juszczyk. He's fantastic leading the way for the tailbacks. He's good as a receiver, and he is a fantastic blocker as well in pass protection. Now, this San Francisco offensive line, they battled injuries for a lot of the season, but they're all healthy now. Including left tackle Joe Staley, who I think came back a little bit too early off of his injury. He struggled the first couple games out, but he is back to his all-pro form in the last 3 weeks. There's a lot of talk about this Chiefs defense. Say, well, you know what? They were able to stop Derrick Henry, but the Titans, they run a little different scheme with their counteraction as opposed to the Niners, who use that zone blocking scheme. And the Chiefs basically have done well against the zone blocking scheme. You know, the zone blocking scheme, in a nutshell, you're basically hitting guys. You're blocking guys that are coming to a certain area. You're not picking out guys to go block. You're not saying I got this guy, I got this guy. You're just taking care of whoever happens to be in your zone. And it was basically invented by his dad, Mike Shanahan, with Alex Gibbs and Gary Kubiak there in Denver. And the Chiefs, they faced 2 of the top zone blocking teams in Minnesota and Green Bay this season, and they held 2 pretty good rushing attacks there to 4.2 yards per carry. And I think they're going to be able to. Limit the damage of this Niners rushing attack. Rushing attack for the Niners, very good. And any good rushing attack, they're going to get theirs. But the Chiefs will be doing their best, like they did with Derrick Henry, to limit those chunk plays and make the Niners earn every yard. And the Niners, for their part, they're going to have to play some seriously good defense against Kansas City Chiefs, because this Kansas City Chiefs team, as we've seen in the playoffs especially, they can score, and they can score in a hurry. And there's a fun stat in the Super Bowl. Since 1979, the teams that have scored 30 or more points are 21-3 against the number 22-4 straight up in the Super Bowl. So if you get to 30, that's pretty much the golden number for your team. At least according to the Super Bowl, according to these stats, you have about a 84% chance to cover the number. And the Chiefs, they're going to have to do it most likely through the air. They are certainly below average in rushing. Having said that, Pat Mahomes and his wheels has definitely been an added element over the last couple of weeks. In fact, Pat Mahomes was the leading rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs last week. Fun fact about Pat Mahomes and leading rusher, 3 times he's done it in his Kansas City career. The Chiefs in those games, 3-0. I don't know what that means. I guarantee you Andy would prefer that Mahomes isn't running the ball much. But he will definitely do that, especially if the Niners turn their backs. If they play man to man, if they run to the receivers, if Mahomes has a shot up the middle, I don't think the Niners are going to be able to put a spy, at least a full-time spy, on Mahomes. There's just too many quality players to cover for the Chiefs. I just don't think the Niners are going to be able to throw an extra player to spy on Pat Mahomes. The Niners, they need to get out. They need to get after Mahomes, and they need to keep him off balance. This game for me, I think, is going to come down to the ability of the 49ers front four, the ability that they have to get after Mahomes, and more importantly, keep him inside of the tackle box. He is fantastic when he scrambles. He's one of the best in the league at his ability to create out of structure. And the 49ers, they play a lot of cover 4, which is basically splitting the field into 4 quarters as opposed to cover 3 where you do thirds. Okay, you're with me. They disguise it. They're kind of tricky. They disguise it as cover 3, and then it requires your cornerback to aggressively sprint backwards right before the snap and end up playing cover 4. KC, they dealt with cover 4 the first couple of weeks of the season, actually. Jacksonville and Oakland played a ton of it, and it did not go well for either one of those teams. It did not phase Pat Mahomes or Andy Reid and what the Chiefs wanted to do scheme-wise. Kansas City offensive line is healthy, but this defensive line for the Niners is absolutely elite. I expect them to have at least moderate success of getting to young Patrick Mahomes and throwing him off of his game just a bit. At the end of the day, I think the most underrated aspect of this whole matchup is the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Now, here's a comparison that was put up by a guy named Seth Kaiser, who's a Kansas City Chiefs fan that lives up in Minnesota, posted on their fan page, Arrowhead Pride. And it compares the two defenses. Kansas City had 45 sacks this season. The Niners had 48. Kansas City had 16 interceptions versus 12 for the Niners. Kansas City limited their opponents to 37% on third down. Niners 33%. Points per game. Chiefs gave up 19.2. Niners gave up 19.4. Strength of schedule, the Chiefs were 5th. The Niners were 10th. They were penalized exactly the same number of times, 116 on the season. The Chiefs, however, had fewer penalty yards at 844 to 957. And lastly, the Chiefs were the superior red zone team as they limited their opponents to 53.5% scoring in the red zone, and the Niners were at 61%. I know that's a lot of numbers, but basically what it's saying is the Chiefs' defense is okay, and they've certainly been playing better lately. They did give up 24 to Houston in the first quarter. However, if you remember that game, it was basically in that quarter, it was a busted coverage on third down, block punt for a touchdown, a fumbled punt at the 5, and a long field goal. Bingo, bango, there's 24 points. In the next 3 quarters, however, Chiefs defense gave up just 7 to Houston. Now, in the Tennessee game, they held the best quarterback and the best running back in the league for the second half of the season, at least, to 17 points in non-garbage time. Titans did get a touchdown late when the Chiefs were playing very soft defense. But I also think the San Francisco pressure, like I said, is going to keep Mahomes off balance for much of the day. Guys, the official play on this one, we're going to fade the public, all right? The public has absolutely pounded the over since this game opened up. We're going to go the other way. We're going to say that defense does enough, that there's going to have to be, San Francisco is going to run the ball. The Chiefs may not be able to throw deep. They may have to throw short possession passes to keep the chains moving, and that will keep the clock moving as well. Give us the under, 54.5 in Super Bowl 54. All right, guys. We'll get down on that one. Last game of the season. We appreciate you guys. If you've watched our videos, we appreciate it throughout the year. And we'll get down on the under 54.5. And at the end of this game, you guys can join me. We'll stop by and pick up our winning tickets, and then we will head back to the window. All right, everyone. Have a great offseason. Good luck on all of your bets today. Again, don't forget to check out the Deep 3. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. You guys take care, and I'll be looking for you back at the window.